a satyr, and we are going to make a cosplay hoodie. They're stupid easy to make. I'm going to desperately try to make one in the span of this 2 hours. I think we can do it. We're going to have to because there's a panel at 2, so that's just what it is. I specialize in doing Pokemon, so I will show you the design of something I've like fever dreamed on a Thursday for your viewing pleasure. So I'm gonna go ahead and, oh my gosh, I was so certain I opened the picture somewhere. Did I not? Oh well, I'll share the screen then. I'm gonna go ahead and screen share. That's what we're doing today. Who's that Pokemon? It's Oddish. I literally rolled a die and was like, all right, when am I going to buy at Joann's? So this is what we're up to today. If you're curious how I found, like what I used as my base for a hoodie, I literally just looked up hoodie clip art and stole a clip art, because you don't have to be like the world's greatest artist to design on something. And whatever, it's not like this image is going to go viral or anything. Please don't make this image go viral. As I'm working on this hoodie, I'm going to need you, if you've got questions about what I am doing, I'm going to need you to either type the questions and we'll let our moderator read them at me, because I definitely will not be able to go back and forth looking at your questions in the chat. Or you can unmute and just ask, and then I will answer, because if we wait till the end for a Q&A, that will be stupid. So you're going to need to ask me questions on the fly as we go, and that is going to be the name of the game. I'm going to try to keep my camera as steady as I can. We are going to see some camera angle changes, mostly because you're going to be seeing the cutting process as well as the sewing process. So like I said, I'm going to try to keep that those transitions as smooth as possible, because nobody wants to feel motion sick. I might even just take down the camera and put it back up, just again to ease that transition. All right, is everybody savvy on what's happening right now? Good, good, because I'm going to quickly tell you what goes into what we're doing today. Yesterday I went to Joann's, and that holding receipts the correct direction is probably optimal. I spent money. I spent a total of approximately 50 bucks on the materials that we are going to be using. Some of it was stuff for me that we're not going to be using. So assume that we're going to be around 50 bucks for the materials. I'm going to just quickly introduce you to my scissors. I like to use these scissors. They're like anti-arthritic scissors. So if you have questions about that, they're Fiskars. They're fantastic. I'm going to be using fleece, not flannel, and I'm going to be using fleece, not felt. Anyone who tells you to use felt is lying to you. Fleece is optimal for this. I believe I bought Alpine fleece this time. Doesn't matter if you buy Alpine or Blizzard, buy whatever is on sale. Because I swear to you, I'm checking the receipt. I swear to you, if you buy anything at full price, like any fleece at full price at Joann's, you are overpaying. You shouldn't have to spend more than like $5 a yard, $5 to $7 a yard for fleece. And sometimes they'll sell fleece for like $12 a yard, but it'll be 40% off. So keep that in mind. Anyway, let's go to the videotape, shall we? I know how to screen share. I do. All right, I am going to be over here. Okay, hopefully you can still see me. Can everyone hear me okay? Feel free to unmute yourself and tell me you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Awesome. I want y'all to know that for the cutting process, and our moderator did ask before we started, what template do I use to make my hoodies? I use a t-shirt. because ain't nobody got time for anything else. I use a t-shirt. This is my boyfriend's t-shirt back when he was a size large. I'm going to be making a size large. Before I begin, I fold my t-shirt in half. This is going to represent 1/4 of my pattern. Today, I am not going to put in a zipper in my hoodie because putting in a zipper takes more time. I don't want to do that. So I have some fleece right here. Boop. All fleece comes with 2 directions. There's an up-down direction, which follows the salvage edge. And then there's the side-to-side direction. Now, for your benefit, I'll use clips for this. For your benefit, I'm going to use clips so that you can see how they move relative to one another. On my up-down, see my 2 clips. I've got a clip up here and a clip down here. There's a little bit of stretch, but not a lot of stretch. On my side to side, there's a good amount of stretch. You always want to cut with the horizontal stretch in mind because, no offense, you don't need more room this way, you need more room this way. And that's to account for if you've got a chest, if you've got a tongue, if you've got anything in between, if you got hips, if those hips don't lie, things of that nature. So people might be asking me, hey Mink, how much fabric do you need to make a hood? Well, it depends on what you're making and the size of it. For this oddish, I got 1.5 yards of the blue for the body. That's too much. I know it's too much. I probably only needed 1 yard. I probably only needed 3/4 yard. Don't matter. What I'm doing right now is saving myself the hassle. I am folding my fabric in half, and then I'm folding a part of it, like 1/2 in half again. So right now, here's 1/4 of the fabric, and here's the rest of it, whatever. I'm doing that mostly so I can just plop a t-shirt down and use this as a template. I am quite literally just going to cut around my t-shirt, and then I'm going to unfold it and do it again. Notice the fold of my fabric is aligned with the fold of my t-shirt. This is just to go fast. If you want to unfold your t-shirt and cut it up, go with God. Do what you want. I want you to also notice that there is a collar here, but the collar down here kind of goes deeper. It's about 3 inches deeper. We're going to keep that in mind for future us. That's future our problem. Right now, I'm just going to make an outline with scissors. Mink, you're not using any fabric chalk to outline? No, we ain't got time for that. Now, I'm not going to cut out the sleeve. I am, however, going to fold the sleeve down as best as I can because most sleeves, like t-shirt sleeves, have a bit of a candy cane shape right here. If you don't feel confident about this part, then just take some chalk. Oh, I didn't cut all the way through. My bad. Oh, it's because that's the later layer. I'll cut through on that one later. If you don't feel confident, then, whatever, get some chalk. If you want to put a seam allowance, do it. I'm not putting in a seam allowance because, I don't know, then it'll be more like a size medium, and that's fine with me. If I was making this specifically for someone who is a size large, I'd probably put in about anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Typically, I don't do more than that because I feel like that's just excessive. Actually, come to think of it, I can just cut through this layer, and I will, darn it. So as I'm going through this process, if you've got any questions so far, like I said, unmute yourself because I'm not looking at the chat box. Now watch this magic. You ready? Now you just cut it again. I'm not kidding. This is like the fastest way to cut 2 pieces of fabric at the same time.
Also, this is just a comment, but when you watch other people craft, it's very relaxing. Versus when I do it, it's relaxing, but then you get those random stress moments when you think you're messing up. But it's just
I've
very
done
soothing.
So many bloody times. I mean, not this specific hoodie. This will be the first time I'm making an oddish. I've been told that the sound of my scissors cutting sounds like a cat getting ready to throw up, so sorry about that. Now you can't unhear it. Yeet that over here. All right. So now I've got 2 pattern pieces for the body. I did mention that the collar of a shirt has a front and a back. Now the front of your shirt just kind of lines up with the nape of your neck, but you want the collar to be lower because otherwise it's going to sit up here. If you've ever put on a t-shirt backwards, it feels uncomfortable. That's a no-no. Sorry, I'm looking to see where I put my measuring tape. I'm going to do about 3 inches lower than where it needs to be. Now, if you want to use chalk, and for this purpose, I will use literally some chalk to just like quickly map out where I'm going, but I'm just making a curvy shape that starts 3 inches down and goes to the edge. I have done this so many times that I like don't even bother using the chalk anymore. The chalk is really just, it's a prop at this point. Yeet. All right. So now we have the beginnings of oddish. Now this is not what oddish is going to look like, unfortunately, because my oddish actually is going to have a yoke that's green. I will get to that, but first I want to deal with a pocket, a kangaroo pocket. I want to put a kangaroo pocket like right here on the front. And part of the reason why I'm doing that is because, I mean, first of all, who don't love pockets? Point number 1, who don't love pockets? And then point number 2 is that I want to use the pocket for the mouth of my little friend. I don't need this out right now. So I'm going to grab my fabric, making sure it is that nice vertical horizontal stretch is where I need it to be. Now here's where I cheat, and I hope you enjoy my cheating. I folded it in half again, and I'm just going to lay this on top so that the fold is covered, because my game plan here is that I'm just using my pattern, my piece that I cut out as my pattern piece. So I'm just going to cut the bottom, cut the side for about as high as I want a pocket to go. I mean, I don't want it to go too high. Maybe I want it to go like, I don't know, maybe this high. And then I'm just gonna improv a curve for my kangaroo pocket. The last thing I'm gonna do with the blue is I am going to make the band that's going to form the bottom of the hoodie, which right now just means I fold it into quarters so I can deal with it easier. And my scissor is going to hate me. And I want about, my tried and true is doing a 2-inch band, which means I have to like double it because I'm going to fold it over. I'll show you in a moment. But I'm going to cut a 4-inch by super long band, and I'll cut that down later. There we go, 4 inches. Now I've got my band, and what will happen is I will be folding it over, and that will be the bottom band. I know I'm talking fast as I get through all this. Ooh. It warmed up enough that I got to put the air conditioning back on. All right, so now we've got the start of some stuff. Now I get to pull out the green fabric. I got way more green fabric than I need for this. I wound up getting something to the tune of like 2.5 yards. Usually if I'm making a hoodie that's one color, I'll get like 3 yards just to be safe, and then I have way more than I need. That is probably the case here too. That's not the piece I need.
So we have a comment from Stitchery Geekery. Mink,
Yes.
you are so much more confident than I am with clothes making. I'm still on plushies.
No, dude, I started with plushies. I think plushies are harder. IMO. I think plushies are way, way harder because plushies got to reinvent a form every single time. With hoodies, it's kind of like the same form. So if you want to make the transition to like making your own patterns and your own clothing, strongly, strongly recommend going from doing plushies to then doing hoodies and then hopping over to clothing, like just clothing without stretch. All right, so for Oddish, I do want Oddish to have this like curve to it. So what's going to happen is just like I had done for the kangaroo pocket, I'm folding my fabric with the horizontal stretch. I'm folding it into, I folded it technically in quarters because I'm going to cut a piece that's going to go, it's going to look the same as my blue piece here. But the difference is I want to make it so I make like that rounded shape because my goal is to have Oddish look like it's round, even though our bodies are not ideally a full circle. I mean, if your body is a complete circle, awesome, more power to you.
And Stitchery Geekery says that they're currently making a Bellosum cosplay doll for a friend. And they'll post it later.
Blossom's cute. I love Blossom. Thank you for reading the comments for me. I literally can't. I am like half a room away at this juncture.
No worries at all.
All right, so for this part, I'm kind of going to be guessing. So in order to make a good guess, I'm just going to cut right across. I know, right now you're just seeing straight and pure chaos, mostly because I made up my mind that I needed to have all the fabric cut in the first half hour. So I'm just laying this down here so I can get a sense of what I think will look good. And I'll use the chalk in case it makes people feel better. Of course, the purple chalk is not showing up very good on camera because the value of the purple that I have versus the value of the green just does not play nicely. I can see it, but you can't. Sorry. So my line kind of goes like that. I'm going to leave a little bit of extra on the end. There we go. See, it's going to make that circular shape. When I unfold it, it'll make a nice circular yoke. Yoke is what you use to describe that part, that particular part of a shirt. Took me how many years of sewing to learn that that was the term for it? Cheese and crackers, man. Yes, there's nothing but blind chaos here for you today. I hope that's what you signed up for. And if it's not what you signed up for, well, buckle up, Buttercup. It's what you getting. All right, and I'm actually grabbing the other piece of fabric to do something very similar. Mostly I'm doing this because I want to make sure that I get the collar positions right. So, I mean, truthfully, what I could do is I could just do this, because that's what I'm trying to replicate right now. And I can promise you right now, it's not going to come out perfect, and that's okay. That's why we're using fleece, because fleece is super levels of forgiving. Now that I have that part of the blue, I can literally just remove it and use the green as my pattern piece. Line that up, line that up. Now, hopefully my chaotic process is making any sense. If at any point it's not making sense, or you need me to slow down to explain any elements of this, please tell me, because I can't read your mind. I'm just going to cut away the excess because I hate dealing with the excess. I have a lovely pile of just chaotic fabric happening. All right, so now I got the green yoke. Fabulous, fabulous. I don't know, what do we think? Sleeves next? Let's do sleeves, then hood. We'll do sleeves, then hood, then leaves, and then it'll be time to stitch this puppy together. I'll be a little bit late on my timeline. So now what I'm doing, come on, focus, focus, there we go. So now what I'm doing is, again, I'm just folding into quarters. I'm sure you're gonna get wicked bored of me folding into quarters, where I'm guaranteeing that everything I cut has that horizontal stretch. Sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with this. I like the folding into quarters method just because, for the most part, your bolts of fleece will work out so that I think as much as like 3 or 4XL, you'll be able to do this without running into any issues or running afoul. So to do sleeves, this is my secret for sleeves. I'm going to take my pattern piece here, you know, that piece that is our shirt, the front of our shirt. I'm going to take our pattern piece and I'm going to lay it kind of perpendicular here. I'm going to make sure that my arm continues the line of my fold, and I'll just kind of widen this out a little bit, just a little bit. This is the line I'm going to use to make my sleeve. If I had to chalk it again, I feel kind of bad because my purple chalk just isn't showing up against the green, so you can't see it so well. But what I need to know is I need to know how long my sleeve is going to be. Standard size sleeve, most people like to have their sleeves somewhere between 22 and 25 inches long from the tip of their shoulder to, you know, like their wrist. I'm going to do mine at 24. Usually I make mine at 23, but I'm not a size large, so I'm going to do this at 24 inches. So my goal is to trace this line, cut at 24, and then I'm going to make a weird looking trapezoid. I'll explain the math in a moment. Cut. That gives me the part where my sleeve matches the arm eye, which is the word for it. So at 24 inches, I snip so I mark it. Now, a typical hoodie sleeve, I like to give 10 to 12 inches of space for your cuff, because that usually gets most people's hands. Even if you go like this, like it'll get most people's hands. So if I'm doing a 10-inch cuff, that means I've had the fabric folded over, so I'm going to count to 5 inches. So I measured out 5 inches. All right, now I need to just make a straight line from this end to this end. Sometimes if I'm being lazy about it, I'll just cut wantonly like a maniac. But if I'm being precise, I'll grab the straight edge of my measuring tape. There we go. Ta-da, sleeve. Now, yes, if you want, you can make this more sloped and have a gentler sleeve, so it's like straighter, whatever. This is just how I do hoodie sleeves because it's comfy. I feel like I'm yelling at people. I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound aggressive. There's a lot of like lay shrug and it's okay. And the point of doing my presentation in this way, where I just try to reassure people that it's okay to goof up and be dumb about it, is because it's okay to goof up and be dumb about it. In fact, I encourage that. So I'm just going to make another sleeve. Fastest way I can do that is literally just folding the fabric. Is it wasteful? Yes, it's incredibly wasteful. But it's fast. So my priority here is not economy of fabric. My priority right now is speed.
Okay, question for you, Mink. From Citrate Geekery, ever work with minky fleece?
what? Minky fleece?
Yes, correct.
Yes. I've worked with both of them because there are two kinds of minky fleece things. There's the so there's the minky fabric, and then there's like a minky fleece, and then there's the single-sided and the double-sided. I mean, at the end of the day, working with it, the difference is just that you need to be more cognizant of your stitch width, and that can just be a pain in the butt. Or not stitch width, stitch tension. That's the word I was looking for. Man, trying to do a bunch of things at once, really bad for the brain. I'm just cutting away extra fabric. I'm sure I'll have a use for fabric of this size. All right, so now I've got my sleeves. Now, when it comes to these sleeves, I don't really have to worry about it because I didn't make my sleeves any like interesting shapes because I figured this was just going to be like another leaf. So I'm not worrying about that. If you did have a special like shape that you wanted to make, then I recommend getting some muslin and drawing out this pattern on the muslin first, and then doing like if you needed to have like a scalloped edge, you can draw your scalloped edge, etc. So you don't have to cry like, oh wait, I wanted to do this or that. Speaking of wanting to do this or that, we're going to do the hood. Now for the hood, this part is going to be a pain in the butt because I decided I wanted my hood to be leaf shaped. So I'm not going to just do a standard hood. One thing I will need is I'm going to need a straight edge. So I'm going to give myself a straight edge. Now I'm going to show you the quick math for this. And since I'm doing a non-standard hood, I won't fold it over. I'll just cut a second hood. I'm going to show you the quick math for this, and I'm just going to use the collars from my green pieces just so that you can understand where it's coming from. I will only measure 1/2 at a time because I'm only going to cut 1/2 at a time. So this represents 1/2 of the back collar, so it's like a quarter. And this measurement is approximately 4 inches long. So I'm going to keep that in the back of my head. I need 4 inches long. Oh, that's going to be 4 inches. Actually, I should probably do that like more like out here, but whatever. I'll do it out here. I'll be wasteful. So that's going to be 4 inches long. I know you guys can't see it, and that really blows. This part of the collar has got to be, it's about 6.5 inches long. So I'm going to have to make that 6.5 inches long. Now what I like to do is I actually like to put a dart that's about 2 inches. So I'm going to like mark my 2-inch dart. Again, you guys can't see it and it makes me mad. And then I'm going to mark where my 6.5 inches is. Woo, I planned that really well because it's like right at the edge. So now that, and then I marked my table. Oh, you can kind of see it. So I'm going to mark my dart. It's just a triangle. Doesn't matter how high up you go. For my hood, my magic number for hoods is 16 inches long if you have a collar, if you're just doing a t-shirt collar. If you're doing like a really low, like show off your chest collar, you might need to add a few inches. But I usually do about 16 inches long because that'll give you an optimal hole to put your head through. So I'm mapping out my hood. The hood is probably the thing that requires the most like esoteric math. And then after that, it's just ridiculous. Now, one thing I am going to do is I'm going to move. Do I need to move anything back? Yeah, I might. Yes, I am going to move something back. I know I'm going to put in a band around my collar, so I'm just going to move it back 2 inches. You do not need to put a band around your collar or around your hood. That's entirely optional. And I do feel bad that I'm like bombarding you with a bunch of seemingly bizarre words all thrown at you. But, you know, this has some pattern making in it. I didn't tell you that there was going to be some pattern making in it, but there's some pattern making in it. So I don't know how long I want the leaf hood to be, so I'm just going to make it like 22 inches long. I don't know. I don't care. So I'm just mapping this out because I'm less confident with how long that's supposed to be. Far less confident. And I want it to have a leaf shape. So I'm going to give it a bit of a leaf shape. And then it just drops straight down. So when I cut it, you'll be like, oh, that's what she's talking about, because you can't see it. I apologize. All right, like I said, I'm a little bit behind schedule. So hopefully I'll assemble everything else really speedy fast. Now, I don't do sharp corners when it comes to cutting things. Like a leaf should have a sharp corner. If you're going to sew anything to another object, blunt your corners. You'll thank me later, because anything that you're going to turn under, you're going to want to have a blunted corner. And let me cut in that dirt. Now, I do apologize. I do have to cut a second one of these, but you can see this will be the hood, and it will have a leaf-like quality in the back. It'll be cute. We're going to have a party. So I do, like I said, I do have to cut a second one. It does not matter if I rotate this upside down. This is not like fur. It doesn't really have a pile. If this were a fur hood, you would have to keep it going in the same directionality if you wanted the fur to lay the same way. This is why I love fleece, is because I can rotate things vertically and still use the fabric efficiently. You should not rotate it 90 degrees, because then I will lose that stretch benefit, and I like my stretch benefit. And you should learn to like your stretch benefit too. All right. Now, I did mention I was going to put in a cuff around my collar, like a cuff edge. I just think it looks nice in the finishing. This time I am going to use the salvage edge side. I do that only for my hood edging. So I fold it over so you can see the salvage edge. I'm actually going to use the salvage edge for my patterning here. I want to cut the salvage edge off because usually the salvage edge is nasty and pain to work with and inconsistent, or sometimes it'll even gather the fabric in a way I don't want. So that's why I've cut it. I've lined it up so I know that this is double the length of my hood. I want to make this just like the bottom of our hoodie. I'm going to make it 4 inches. It will make sense all very soon. So I'm going to make it 4 inches long. Thank you for just trusting me about all of this. Trust me. Yes, my method of cutting this instead of measuring up the lines is I'm just holding up my measuring tape and aiming for the 4 inches every single time. I know that that's, again, very chaotic. And like, yeah, it's not perfect, but whatever, it'll be fine. So when I go to fold this over, it shall look like this. Now, some folks will take a cotton and they'll make a lining for the inside of the hood just because it looks nice. I have the cotton. To save on time, I'm not going to put in the cotton lining. It just looks more professional if you put cotton lining. If you do that, then what you would do is you would just repeat the same steps of this double pattern piece with the cotton, and it does not matter what direction you hold it because it's cotton. the only, like, the way the warp and weft is, it won't give you vertical or horizontal stretch. It will give you 45-degree stretch though. Watch this. Woo! Woo! That's called cutting on the bias. That's for a different day. We'll talk about that on a different day. But look, it is a pretty color. Yeet. You can be masks for me later. If anyone needs a leaf mask, hit me up, I guess. Okay. So there are a couple more things I need to cut. I need to cut my sleeve cuffs because I never cut them. And I need to cut the leaves for the actual hood itself. Because as you saw from the original design, the hood has leaves to be like Oddish's leaves. Now, for the purposes of what we are doing, I'm folding this over so I can just cut them twice. Again, I've got my, oops, this is the wrong side. I'm glad I checked. I want to have horizontal stretch. I'll do it this way just so I can get it. Yep, horizontal stretch. We got it. This is going to make the cuff. Now I know that my sleeve is 10 inches long because that's what we measured it to. I'm going to make my cuff not 10 inches. I'm going to make it slightly smaller, maybe like 8 or 9 inches. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because it's going to create a gathering effect around the wrist, and that just looks nice. Look, I've got a straight edge. This will be perfect. So again, I'm going to make it 4 inches. So when I fold it over, it'll just be 2. If that makes sense to you. And now I want this to be about, like I said, I'm going to do 8 or 9 inches. I'll do 8.5. I'll split the difference. Sorry, I'm focusing on making sure that I get 4 inches of length here. There we go, and I'll just cut this so that I've got 2 pieces of that. Again, is this economical? No, but does this cut fabric stupid fast? Yes. I'm making a bagillion fabric scraps because I hate having the non-geometric ends. So when we go to sew the sleeves in, I'll be folding this over as such. I'm actually going to give it like a pull to make sure I meet those edges. And then once we sew it down, it's going to just gather naturally on its own, which is a very cool technique. It looks very great. This is a great way to do gathers for sleeves. It's a feature with any fabric that has any modicum of stretch to it. Fleece is optimal. If you do it for something like spandex, it might not work the way you want it to work unless you're using a zigzag stitch. And the reason for that is that spandex has way more stretch than fleece does. So just keep that in mind. This is like almost exclusively a technique to use for fleece. All right. Itch my itchy nose. So now I need to make a bunch of leaves. I want to find out where my stretch is. There it is. I'm going to make a bunch of leaves. And I want each leaf to be like maybe 4 inches at the top. And then it really doesn't matter how wide they are. It doesn't want to lay flat because my salvage edge is actually slightly cinching the fabric. So if that's becoming a frustrating point for you, just cut off the salvage edge and it'll lay flat and behave. Boy, I am 10 minutes behind. I am going to try to power through as fast as possible. So I'm just making 4 leaves, which means if I fold this in half, I'm going to do it 4 times. And I don't know how long I want each one to be. I'll make each one about 20 inches long. Again, you can't see this, and I'm sorry. I really wish this was showing up on the cloth. I can see it again. It's because of the color value. I'm basically making teardrop shapes. But I'm blunting the ends. Remember that, I am blunting the ends. Literally, snip, blunted end. So this is gonna be a leaf. If I hold it to my body on this screen, you can see it's gonna be a leaf. It's gonna sit on my collar. I'm gonna have 2 in front. I'm gonna have 2 in back. And then the hood is gonna be the final leaf. Now I just have to do this 3 more times. Short answer to the question you didn't ask is, can I just fold fabric and then fold fabric again and then only have to do it like a couple more times? Yes, it's totally what I'm going to do. So I don't have to waste as much time cutting. Although I'm running low on fabric, so this might backfire on me. And if it does, whatever, then I'll just have 3 leaves. I don't care. It's a silly project. And they're leaves, so they don't have to be perfectly symmetrical. What leaves are. If it doesn't come out perfect, I'm not going to cry about it. I might have enough. I'm going to have to get creative about how I cut it, but I might have enough. Yes, I would have enough if I cut it this way, but that's going to disrupt the measurement that I was trying, or the directionality of the fabric that I was trying to achieve. Remember, it doesn't work one way, just flip it, because it'll work. I will have to cut 2 of these though, sorry. Again, economy of fabric, yada yada. If I had drawn this out ahead of time or pinned it, then that would have worked fine. And I probably would have been a little bit less close. I don't mind being wasteful if it means I'm fast.
I have a general question just for anyone watching. So why would you not want to go against the directionality of the fabric?
So right now, I've made it so that my leaves have this horizontal stretch. If I made one of them have horizontal stretch and the other one have vertical stretch, so it would be like vertical stretch, then when I sew it, it will be harder to sew, and it might create some weird like rippling effects in the seam. So that is definitely why you wouldn't necessarily want to go against the grain in that way, like, you know, flip it 90 degrees. If you have a fabric that has a 2-way stretch. If you have a fabric that has a 4-way stretch and it's the same percentage stretch in both directions, then enjoy, have fun. The world is your oyster. But that's not usually the case. Oh, look at that. This is all I have for fabric scraps. Not bad. Not bad. Me at 11 a.m. yesterday. All right. Sadly, I'm only almost done cutting. The reason why I say I'm only almost done cutting is because I still need to make the eyes and mouth of our little friend. Sorry, I'm off camera. It's because I'm piddling around trying to get that. I decided I was going to do something stupid, and I was going to make the mouth like right here. I think that'll be really cute. Is it dumb? Yes. Will it be cute? Hopefully. Again, I want to make sure my stretch lines up. So I need to make sure I've got that same horizontal stretch. If you guys are going to get so tired of me saying horizontal stretch, I apologize for nothing. I really just need to put a snip here. And sure, I'll do it like this. And I am just cutting a smile so I don't have to care so much. I might even make it smaller, but this is 1/4 yard of thread, by the way. When I unfold it, Does it look like a smile? Come on, guys, that's a smile. My next order of business is I need to cut 2 circles for the eyes, and Oddish has red eyes. If you are curious how I cut circles on the fly, I generally make a square shape. Sorry, you can't see that. A square shape. And then I try to cut the corners, literally, as best I can. And again, it's just a hoodie, so if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. I do feel like these eyes are going to be a little bit too big, so as I go, I'm just going to spiral inward to make them a little bit more the size that I want the eyes to be, because I cut my square too big. So spiraling is definitely, you don't have to just have anxiety to spiral. There we go. All right, can we see that Oddish is gonna like happen though? Like, come on, come on. Actually, if I'm gonna really play this to its natural conclusion, I'm gonna start laying some stuff out. I'm gonna lay out the pocket, I'm gonna lay out the face. Now, part of the reason why it's helpful to do this is because this is what we're going to be doing top stitching of. There are lots of different ways to stitch fleece. I'm going to show you one of them. Now, this tells me that my kangaroo pocket is probably too high, so I'm going to lower it. And this tells me that my mouth is probably too big, so I'm going to shorten it. Proportioning, man. It's easy to do. But this is a necessary step because then it'll teach you what needs to change. Just cutting away what needs to get cut away. And it'll still be a pocket. It'll still work. It's just a little less deep. Come on. Cut away then. What is this? There we go. Fabulous. All right, that looks wicked cute. I'm just saying. Oh, and you know what? Since I'm here, I may as well give you like the full demo of what this will look like. Grab a couple of these. It'll be like, this will be here, and this will be here. And like, that's gonna look stupid cute. Hopefully you think so too. Oh my God, that actually does look stupid cute. I thought about putting feet on this, but I was like, you know what, that's way more complicated than this needs to be. I just was enamored by the abstract idea of having a hoodie that looks like Oddish. That was just gonna be cute. All right, so I mentioned that we're gonna be doing some top stitching, and I'm serious. So I'm gonna do some top stitching for the face first, because I think faces are fun. So you can see I'm just taking some straight pins. I don't know where my box of pins went, so I'm just gonna do best I can right now. I'm taking some straight pins and I'm just pinning it in place because I'm gonna need that. And I'm just gonna put these right here real quick.
Oh, Mink, we actually have a comment from Red Moon Cookie. I felt that. LOL.
Which part? The missing pins? The
Which
sheer
part?
insanity? All right, I'm gonna move some of this. And now, Jesus. Now's the part where I stop sharing screen real quick so I can make a screen transition for y'all. This is going to make it so you're not busy when I inevitably drop the camera, which is what I just did. Because I don't know if you guys can just see me slightly off camera changing my angles here. But you will soon understand why I had the X that I had. All right, we're gonna screen share.
Just as a side comment, just the whole way you display this workshop is really impressive with the different cameras, so we can really see everything.
Oh, I mean, what's the point if you can't see stuff? Yeah, this is where the camera was previously. If you're doing anything like this in the like for your own safety or your own sake, sorry, background's a mess. I had to just like throw stuff. If you're ever doing this yourself, have a webcam, have a camera app open so that you could still communicate with people. My camera app is actually, so my webcam is close to my my sewing machine, and it's closer to my sewing machine than my laptop, which I'm gonna pull a little bit further away, just because I don't know if you want to hear laptop sounds as we work, or sewing machine sounds as we work. I'm gonna assume you don't. So this is just me trying to save face. Also, a lot of this is gonna have to be sewing standing up. This is my spit cup, by the way. I recommend having a spit cup. It's that place that you put thread so you don't get it all over your project. Threading a sewing machine standing up and then sewing standing up is going to be experience. Usually I have a friend manning the camera. Oh my God. Threading the sewing machine with my terrible eyes. Sorry, I had to go slightly AFK so I can thread it. Yes, my sewing machine has an automatic threader. It doesn't work very well. So it's just gonna be me stabbing at a sewing machine with thread over and over again. There we go. If anyone's curious, I use Brother. That's my personal favorite right now. What we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna be starting top stitching with a blanket stitch. Now, pardon me, camera. So my sewing machine comes with a lot of stitches, an intimidating amount of stitches. The blanket stitch is number 12. It's right here. Come on, focus. There we go. Man, I got to do my nails. They look terrible. So you're looking for a stitch that looks like number 12. The idea is that it's going to create a nice little border to top stitch your colors onto the base fabric. And it's going to use these perpendicular stitches to hold it in place. Sorry for shaky cam. All right, now focus. There we go. So I'm going to set my machine to 12. And God help, I'm going to try to sew standing up. Now, yes, I could sit here and backstitch. I'm not going to because time.
I have a question for you, Mink, from Stitchery Geekery. Why a blanket stitch versus a pleat / zigzag stitch?
I like the way that the blanket stitch looks better. How's that for an answer? I think it just looks neater. I think the zigzag stitch is fine. It's a good alternative if you don't have the blanket stitch. If your machine has a zigzag stitch, though, it probably has a blanket stitch.
Also, Mink, would you be interested in doing a workshop in the future where you make like a Doctor Who item or like a Doctor Who hoodie?
Yeah. Harder to do Doctor Who hoodies because there's only so many intellectual properties that are interesting. Because, like, no offense to the Doctor Who characters, but, like, really only the monsters have, like, or the set pieces have anything interesting going on. That's why I usually do, like, monster hoodies, like Pokemon, because they tend to have more diverse colors and interesting, easily identifiable shapes. Now you'll notice I'm a savage and I didn't remove my pins. Sue me. So I just think that looks neater. Like I said, it just kind of creates a nice line, and I don't tend to see it from a distance as much as I would with a zigzag stitch. The reason why I started using a blanket stitch is because it's actually a quilter's secret, and it's not even a good secret. Quilters are grandmas, and they're terrible at keeping secrets. Grandmas just generally suck at secrets. So I'm just removing my pins and putting them in so I can do the eyes of Oddish. That's what's happening here, nothing else. And I'm gonna put these pins back in here for now. Usually I put them in my pin box. If I knew where I put my pin box! It's just because I tidied my house the other day and I just don't know where I tidied them. So now I've got these. My circle eyes are literally pinned down by just having my pins be perpendicular to each other. I find that's just easier. Now, one thing I do is because the blanket stitch comes in has like a variety of different positions for my needle, I'll just reset the stitch so I know where my needle is at all times if I can't see it. Which, you know, when you're sewing from above is pretty often you can't see it.
Also, quick question. So what is a top stitch exactly?
So a top stitch is any stitch that you can see, period. So a lot of times when people do stitches, they do stitches for seams. I'm sorry, this camera is only catching the back of my head. I have no idea how to fix that part. I apologize for that aspect. And I'm gonna see if I can sheet this a little bit so you can see a little more of the action. So anytime you can physically see the stitches on top of the fabric, that's a top stitch. Everything else is a seam, and usually you are hiding your seam, or it's like turned under or something. So when you're top stitching, a little like secret is, and it's not even a good secret, is use the same color of the fabric that you're top stitching. So like the bulk of the stitches that I'm working with right now need to be red because the eyes are red and the mouth was red. So that's the point of that. If I made this black, you might actually see it. And maybe you want it to be black because you want it to be seen as an outline. So like sometimes you can use a blanket stitch stylistically like that. And that's just up to you.
And then there's a comment from Stitchery Geekery. I have a hoodie I'm making later once the fabric comes in. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, of course. My genuine hope is that folks who know how to sew, feel comfortable with trying out sewing a hoodie after this. If you don't know how to sew, I still hope that you feel comfortable trying sewing a hoodie after this. Doing the blanket stitch is really easy. The only thing that I like to keep in mind for the blanket stitch, and I'm just going to zoom in real quick for this, is that I have my fabric, there's that focus, got my needle right here, and that's the furthest to the right it's going to go. It's going to also move slightly like, there we go, there we go. See how it moved slightly to the right for a left to the left for a single stitch? Right? Yeah, it moved slightly to the left for a single stitch. I want to make sure that I'm sewing between here and here, which means if you need to wear glasses for this, do it. It's going to make it look a lot more precise and pretty. I hope that zoom in was helpful.
Oh, it definitely was.
This is one of those things where like, sometimes people ask me like, oh, do you have a PowerPoint for this presentation? I'm like, nope. I have my laptop all the same. We're going to project this. So when I do this at conventions, what happens is I will literally do just like what you see here, except instead of seeing me on camera, like you're seeing this camera, that's just me in person. And then I have somebody with the camera zooming in and making sure that you can see what's happening in my sewing machine. And like if you go a little wonky, or if you need to like double back and restitch something, again, it's not a big deal. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be, you know? Now hopefully, I have 2 more things that I have to top stitch after this, so I'll do that really fast, and then we get to the part where we're basically assembling this cookie. So I see a place where I didn't quite get the fabric in my top stitch, so I'm just gonna keep sewing around until I get it stuck in my top stitch. It's fine. I have seen some people just use the straight stitch, and you can. I find that the straight stitch is a little annoying because what'll happen is you'll just see like the fleece will like kind of, it'll pull up a little bit when the parts that aren't sewn down. And if you want to have that, you have to like trim it down and make it consistent looking. Otherwise it looks very crafty and homemade. And there's nothing wrong with looking crafty and homemade. But if you want to make it look profesh, that's just something to keep in mind. All right, I'm going to rotate the camera just so you can see me pin down the next part. So I apologize for the movement that you're going to see. Ta-da. Camera rotation. I need to make sure, really what I'm doing is I'm just making sure that I'm making just my piece of fabric have all the color blocking that I have. And whenever I make hoodies, I view it as just assembling the front, backs, like the front, the back, and the sleeves. That's really all I'm trying to do. Now, one thing I'm going to do that will blow your mind is I am going to seemingly waste a bunch of fabric. It's going to look deplorable. I'm going to waste a bunch of fabric because I am going to top stitch this down, and then about 1 inch higher than that, I'm going to remove the blue fabric because it's just bulky and excessive and you don't need it. So I just pinned it down real quick. When you're working on a sewing machine, always pin perpendicularly to your seam. If you're on a serger, pin parallel to your seam. I know that's crazy because some folks, there we go. Some folks are like, serger, what is? And sergers do something called an overlock stitch, which is very cool, very professional. If you want to take your sewing to the next level, invest in a serger. They're not actually that expensive. I got mine for like, I don't know, $150 on sale, but you could probably get yours for around that much. I've never seen it more than like $250. My serger is also from the company Brother. It's like a 1054D. Don't worry, there's like really only that one serger by Brother, so you don't have to remember 1054D.
Also, just a general question for people watching. What is the difference between a sewing machine and a serger?
Sewing machine has that upper thread, and it has the bobbin thread. And it does a series of stitches that only sandwich, like that are coming back to, you have your top thread, and your bottom thread. A serger or an overlock machine has 4 cones. So it has 2 upper loopers and 2 lower loopers, and they will perform more complex arrangements. I'm seeing if my shirt, yeah, my shirt does have this. So let me get the seam of my shirt, because this, I actually took my shirt in so you can see it better. This is sewn, come on, focus. This is sewn using a serger. There we go. And in order to get that clean edge and this overlock stitch, I needed to have those 4 cones of thread working for me. So that's really the purpose of a serger. Now you'll notice I changed out my thread color. I did that because we are about to embark on green. I'm gonna try to do this, like I said, as fast as I can, because I wanna make sure we have plenty of time to assemble the rest of the hoodie. There we go. Just getting my starter in, my starter stitch. Now, as it happens, my feeder dogs, the feet for my sewing machine, do need to be cleaned out, so I am putting a little bit more tension than most machines would need to feed stuff through, which is why I have my hand pulling the fabric back here. If your feeder dogs are normal and your sewing machine is tuned and nice and up to date, then you don't really need to do this. You can just kind of guide it. But I'm doing some light pulls because I need to. I realize I can't go too fast with this though, because when I make my machine go too fast, it shakes the table, because I'm working on like a foldable table, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm earthquaking. So I do have to keep that in mind and slow myself down just a little bit. Normally I just like tear through this like it's going out of style. So what I might do is I might actually just sew all of the leaves as well while we're here, because I'll be able to show you another top stitch too. So my game plan, for those of you who are following along, my game plan is to do the last of the top stitching that I need, which is on the back. I have to do the matching yoke. There we go. And then once I have the matching yoke done, I will be able to finish off the front and back pieces for sewing together. And then I will be able to start working on the leaves. I'm just going to be off camera for 2 seconds because you don't need to see me repin. You've already seen me pin before the yoke to, I just have to find, normally I organize this way, way better, but right now everything is on my couch, and my couch is just a chaotic mess of fabric.
And there's also a comment I missed from Stitcher Geekery. Brother machines for the win.
Yeah, man. I actually grew up with Singer. I was like ride or die Singer. But I got my first Brother product and I was really into it. And then my Singer sewing machine broke. And then I just started moving on to Brother sewing machines. And I've never looked back. They're very reliable. They're a good workhorse machine. I find that Singers tend to bust down a little bit easier, but that's just my personal bias. It could be that I'm just biased. If you are a Singer fan, I ain't judging you. I do think Vikings are better than Brothers. They're just also more expensive, and I haven't like sat down and purchased a Brother or a Viking. I do like digital display machines. I think the LED display is awesome. I am very privileged. Like I said, this machine wasn't very expensive. It was a mid-tier. This machine was probably also about like 150 bucks, not on sale. So it's not like it's gonna break bank. If you're gonna get any sewing machine, make sure you get one with 30 stitches because those 30 stitches will include the zigzag stitch and the blanket stitch. So it's worth your while. Not having those things, it's if you just get like a $30 sewing machine, it'll usually be like $30 and all it does is one stitch, which is fine. But it means that you don't get to play with certain fabrics. Like you won't be able to really play with spandex, because spandex is a fabric that works much better if you're doing the zigzag stitch for your seams. Assuming that you're making like something that requires any stretch whatsoever, which is probably why you're playing with spandex. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure you get to see the action too. So every now and then I'm like, oh, my hand's in the way. I'm also occasionally looking at the screen instead of looking at my sewing machine, because like I said, I need to quality control for what you're seeing, because I don't have an assistant with me because it's COVID and also a Saturday. So most people are like, I'm doing stuff and also COVID. If I did have an assistant, we were going to set up in my basement where I could get more airflow and do a partial outdoor bit of this. Almost done. Thanks for hanging in there for some of the boring parts. Like some of this will be a little dry. How long have I had that mark on my arm? I know I'm sweating. I don't know if you guys are sweating, because we're an hour 15 in basically, and I'm making progress. I'm about where I need to be. I think I'm going to be able to do it though. Like I said, my goal is by 2 o'clock, we're going to have a fully done hoodie. That's my life goal here. God, pray for me. And I'm just taking a moment to put my pins away. Again, I'm only doing this because I usually just throw them in a pin bucket, but these happen to be the pins that I had like laying around my sewing table. So I was like, all right, I'll find my pin box at some point, probably 15 minutes after I clean up. All right, I'm going to quickly turn the camera. Sorry for the movement. Because I told you that at my collars, I wanted to get rid of that excess space, or the excess fabric. So when I flip this over, you can see, yeah, you can see the imperfections where the green doesn't quite line up. So I'm going to take this as a moment to make the green line up. See, I told you at the very get-go, it didn't have to be perfect, and I wasn't kidding. You can always just make it perfect later. All right, now that that's better aligned, what I'm going to do is about an inch in, maybe like an inch to an inch and a half. I'm just going to cut I'm going to separate my seam, or like, you know, so this part's the blue part, this part is the blue and green part. I'm just going to cut the blue part out so it's not as heavy, it's not as dense around the neck. A lot of people don't like having heavy things around their neck. And, you know, that's roughly an inch to an inch and a half. Let's do it again, but on the front of Oddish. Now, don't worry, I know we haven't put the mouth down yet. We'll do that. It's going to be one of like the later things we do. I just want to do the hood first. Just going to double check to see if I've got to cut anything. No, this one lined up pretty nicely. So,
question for you, Mink,
what you got?
from Ariel. What has been your favorite hoodie to make?
Oh, darn. I was a big fan of Magikarp and Slowpoke. I thought those were really fun. They were very silly. I enjoyed the silliness of it. I think Ninetales was probably the most ridiculous, because with Ninetales, I actually made all 9 tails and then stitched those to the back, like terror, and that was just fun. It was just fun to be a part of. All right, I'm just grabbing all the materials I need for leaves and for hood. All right, I said I was gonna do hood next, so I'll do hood and then I'll do the leaves. I can keep my green thread in, but I can just change back to a straight stitch. Here's my hood. It's got darts, so I want to sew the darts down. And then I'm going to sew the top to my blunted corner, and then I'm going to sew to the bottom. I'm going to keep like 2 sides of this open. So first, I'm going to stitch.
Also, Mink, do you have any other social media plugs that you'd like people to know about? I posted your store Envy.
Thank you.
Cosplay prints.
I have my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter trifecta, all under Mink the Satyr. I also have a Patreon, so if you are even remotely interested in sponsoring me, seeing my monthly content, because I do make a cosplay every month, I definitely rely on my patrons to help me be able to afford making a cosplay a month, because cosplay ain't cheap. Holy moly, cosplay ain't cheap. So here's where if like best practice is to do something called a back stitch, where you do your first couple stitches and then you hit that reverse button on your sewing machine. What that does is it just creates like it's like knotting your fabric basically. Now I have barely any seam allowance because that's how I roll. Please put a seam allowance if you like having seam allowances. I know, this is barely a seam. A lot of times what I'll see is I'll see people do a deeper seam allowance and then they'll cut it, so they just create a situation where there's less fabric in the seam. And it's cool, I like that strategy. So now that I've put my darts in, I'm gonna put dart side facing out on both sides. So stop flailing. Because I can see the dart on this side, see the dart on that side. And my game plan is to sew the hood together now. I'm actually really excited for you guys to see how you put in the lining for the hood, or not the lining, the cuff that goes around, the edging that goes around the hood. As I may have mentioned, I just think it looks better. It looks like pretty profesh. I like doing hoods, like sewing the hoods first, especially if like it's a cosplay of like an animal or something, just because it makes me feel good. I will usually make like cat ears or something and find a way to make a seam and stitch the ears into a seam. In my perfect world, I have no hand stitching for my hoodies. Sometimes you can't avoid hand stitching just because like something needed stuffing or whatnot. But as I said, in my perfect world, there is no hand stitching. And this is where you all secretly learn that I work for Skynet. Here's that blunt turn. Remember how I said blunt edge? I also did a blunt turn, which means like I literally just sewed a couple of straight stitches. And again, the reason for doing that is that if you want it to be pointed, you need to have some space for the extra fabric in the seam to go. So that's where that comes from. Now, should I use pins or clips to hold this together? Yes, pins and clips are used for people who are not rushing to meet a timeline. So sorry about it. I am thinking that I will make our goal here. I think by 2 o'clock we will have a hood. I'm a little less worried, but I do want to make sure that I do this in a way that is not boring. So thank you for those of you who are hanging in there, even if you're just like kind of putting this on in the background while you play Animal Crossing, like, because it's the bug day.
No, I think your commentary is very interesting and like the conversation you've been having while working.
Oh, I'm glad.
And answering all the questions.
Super, super glad. I have mastered the art of doing multiple things at once because I am a teacher. Mm-hmm. That is just what I do. All right, let's.
I'm like genuinely amazed because making
so
a whole hoodie in 2 hours.
We've got the hood happening. I am going to turn it inside out. You guys are going to be like horrified at me sometimes what I do to like make a point, to turn a point, is I'll close my scissors and they'll just jam the scissors into the point. It's like, oh my God, you're stabbing the hood. It's fine, it's just the leaf. Because I did that blunt turn, I can get a more solid point. I'll show you here, I'll show you there. So it's a better point than I would have gotten if I just had sewn the edges as a point. That bluntness gives the fabric somewhere to go. So now what I'm going to do is I need to sew an edge to this. I got to find where I put my edge. Where did I put it? Oh, did I already leave it out? Oh, I'm so smart. I left it out. So here's that long strip whose intent is to go around the edge of the hood. So I'm going to fold it in half. And now when I go to sew it, I need to make sure that I line it with the outside edge of my hood, and I'm just going to straight sew it all the way around, all 3 layers all at once. Here's where, again, do as I say, not as I do. If you have fabric clips, clip them together. If you have, if you've got pins, use straight pins. I am just wantonly sewing these together like a demon because I'm on a time crunch. Normally, people aren't trying to complete this in a short amount of time. That's not what normal people do. I'm just making sure this all lines up. It does. I don't know why I was worried. Every time I do this, I'm like, is it going to line up? And then it does. And I'm like, oh, right, because I used math. This is going to be a very cute hood, I think. Now, normally when I make leaves, I put in like the main vein of the leaf as a top stitch. But because this is going down, our seam is going down the middle of what would be a leaf, we don't have to do that. So that's lovely. We will do it for the other 4 leaves that we're making. Don't have to do it for this one.
Question, Mink. What is the size of the hoodie again? Is it like a medium
size
large?
I figured size large is a pretty safe and universal size. Mm-hmm. Usually when I do like when I give away t-shirts and stuff, I usually get a size large because that'll fit many people. And if it doesn't, almost everyone knows someone who's a size large. I do have a little bit of an extra, so I'm just going to clip the extra. So when I go to turn that over, which I'm going to do on the small cam, you'll see on the small cam how cute that looks. And then I'll just kind of model it quick for you. Look how cute I am. I'm adorable.
That is so cute.
I love cute things. Cute things are cute. That's, no kidding, cute things are cute. All right, let me make sure I have all of the leaves that I need to make. I've got 1 leaf. I've got 2 leaf. I've got half of a leaf. Where'd the other leaves go? 1, 2, 3. I know I have the 4th piece somewhere. Sorry for my light disorganization. Are you a leaf? No, you're a cutout. Are you a leaf? No. I threw the leaf piece somewhere and I don't know where. Are you the leaf? No, you're a cutout. Are you the leaf? Do I have to cut out another piece of leaf because I can't count? I mean, if I have to cut out another piece of leaf, I'll cut out another piece of leaf. I don't care. I'm just mad because I thought I had them all. Same piece. I keep picking up the same piece. And then, of course, if I don't have enough fabric, then whatever, I'll just have 3 leaves and I won't do that last one. Nope, that's not big enough. Sorry, guys. Brief intermission as I try to find what I did with my last leaf. I know I probably like pulled it out somewhere and then used it for something, like demonstrated something or wildly articulated at it. It's gonna be long enough. All right, I don't know where it went, so whatever, we're just doing 3 leaves, I don't care. So we're just doing 3 instead of 4. I don't care enough. I do slightly care. I'm gonna be still looking for it. This is what happens when you toss stuff and you don't have an assistant with you to help you keep track of things. So we'll just do 3 leaves, which means for the front, I'll still do, I think I'll still do 2 in front. Maybe I'll just do 1 in front. No, I think I'll do 2 in front, 1 in back. Whatever, I don't care. If I find the other leaf, I will make it happen. I don't know what I did with it. That's very vexing. All right, for the leaves, I'm again just going to do a straight stitch all the way around. I will be turning it inside out and then doing another straight stitch, but the difference is it will be suddenly considered a top stitch. My brain is literally worrying as to what did I do with my leaves. Here's that thing where if I had prepped any of this ahead of time, I would have had the other leaves already sewn up, so you only have to watch me make 1 leaf. I'm sorry, you will need to watch me make a couple of leaves. I will try to do this as fast as possible because you don't need to see straight stitches over and over again. It's literally straightforward. Again, I'm doing that blunted, I'm doing the blunted sharp turn, so instead of doing a triangle stitch, it's coming out more like a squared edge for the tip of the leaf. Again, the reason for that is because I very much want this to have like a leaf tip. I can already tell I sewed off the side of one of my seams here, so I'm going to go back and just fix that up. Did I sew off the side? Yeah, I sewed off the edge. See, I sewed right off the edge. Not a big deal if you make a mistake, because you can just go back in and edge down. Now, what some people do, I wanted to make this messy, because you're not going to see it. What some people will do is if they have a messily sewn seam, sorry, I'm just cutting my pieces here. They have a messily sewn seam like you see here where it's like kind of wonky and all over the place. You can go back and cut the seam down so it's nice and even, and no one's going to see this, so there's no point. You might do this in plushie making if you were concerned about the piece not being bulky. I'm not concerned. So right now, I've turned my leaf right side out, and I'm going to put in a top stitch real quick to probably about here. So I'm actually going to start down there, so I know that that is the lowest point it's going to be. This one I am going to make sure I back stitch because I don't want this coming undone. And I'm just sewing straight, so it's not like I have to bother pinning it because it's just a straight line. Sorry, the table's moving. It's because I'm trying to go fast. Gotta go fast. All right. And you know what, in the interest of time, and because I'm missing out on the leaves for the back, what I think I'll do is I'll just do 2 leaves, and we'll just do the 2 leaves in front, and we'll make the front like the exciting part, because the back will still have the leaf in the back. So, bye, other leaf. Just do the 2 front leaves, and it'll be cute. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty cute leaf. If you want, you can top stitch in other veins. That's a to taste sort of thing. I think that when it comes to making hoodies, the suggestion of a shape can be very powerful. So if it reads as a leaf and you don't have to do more steps, then don't do more steps. That's just my design philosophy. Thanks for hanging in there with me, guys, especially as I modified the design on the fly to make sure that we have a fully assembled hood by the end of our time. Remember, that's our goal, and I'm only just starting to sweat a little bit because I only have 30 minutes to make it happen. I think I can make it happen. Thank you for hanging in there. This is the part where it starts getting very funny because you're going to start watching me cut increasingly more corners, possibly make increasingly more mistakes. But if nothing else, here's where you're going to get the real like heart of how to assemble stuff quickly. Because if you've got a time crunch and you need something to happen, I'm like the master of cutting corners. See red thread trying to fall off the table. So hopefully you will enjoy the corner cutting that you are about to witness. I say as I turn. Leaf number 2, the last of the leaves instead of all 4 or 3. Now we're just down to 2. God, I have so much like leftover fleece just sitting here, a mess on my couch. It's gonna be real fun cleaning up after this. All right, let's do down red here. This completely, it's like, I'm basing this off of nothing. I am just sewing where I think the middle vein of the leaf should be. You've already seen me do this once, so you don't need to see a detailed explanation of what I am doing. All right, we got our second leaf. A new leaf. Puns are fun. 2 leaves. Leave me alone, I'm bushed. And they're gonna be like right here. And it's gonna look cute. All right. I'm gonna put that off to the side, not on the couch, because I'm worried I'm gonna lose it. Woo! Getting hot in here, is it just me? Let's tackle the sleeves next. Now I mentioned the sleeves have cuffs, so I'm gonna sew the cuffs first. There's a reason for that. I'm gonna take the long sides, I'm gonna line them up, and I'm just gonna straight stitch the 4 inches to one another. I'll do that twice. Doing this as quick as I can. This is the part where we're actually assembling the hood, or like the hoodie. So this is like a step that you kind of can't avoid. So this is going to be like when we put the edge of the hood down. The only difference is that we are going to be applying tension as we do this, and we're going to be doing it in a circle rather than in a straight line. So something I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this tube, I'm going to fold the tube in half, because now that's going to be the cuff of the hood. So I'll do that for both of these. Now, if I have a tube here, it would be optimal to have a tube for my sleeve. Now, the thing of it is I'll show you later, you want to keep the arm eye of the sleeve, this nice long part, open, because it'll just make assembly faster. So really all I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew like the bottom inch closed. And I'm going to do that for both sides, or for both sleeves. All right, now this part is going to be a little weird. It's helpful to have clips or pins for this. Now, I find it's easiest to visualize by turning everything right side out, and then you can figure out how you're supposed to clip this to one another. So you want it so that these pieces fit together, which means that you want these pieces to like to nest within each other really nicely. So I'm really just kind of moving the fleece so that the sleeve is nested now inside a cuff. If it is helpful to you, you can use fabric clips to clip it in place, or you can use pins to pin it in place. Something I like to do is I like to find where the midpoint of the sleeve would be, and I find where the midpoint of the cuff is, and that's where I know these two need to meet. That's just like my way of keeping things fresh. Anyway, the name of the game now is that I need to pull the cuff so that it is as wide as the sleeve itself. So there's going to be a lot of tension that I'm placing. I'm going to do this without pinning it because I'm a maverick. Please don't do the way I am doing. I'm just straight stitch like a demon. I know this needs to be together. All right, this is gonna come out radical, I promise. If it is helpful to hand stitch and do what's called basting, which is just where you hand stitch it so you know everything's gonna go where it needs to sit, and then you can go back in and machine stitch it. Do it works. I like basting a lot for sleeves. I find it's a really efficient way of getting your sleeve to sit exactly the way you need it to. So as you can see, I'm only doing these like little stitches because I have to keep pulling to make my tension right. This is one of the harder things to make these kinds of hoodies. This is a completely optional step. This is for those of you who have sewn before. This is like a nice little advanced ooh la la moment. So that when I flip this right side out, I get this lovely gathered. It just gathers just enough. And I think it looks cool. Oh God, I have 20 minutes to put this together. I am really sweating because I don't know if I can do this in 20 minutes. I took too long explaining mediocre, or not mediocre, but like boring stuff. I took too long explaining boring stuff. The story of my life. Well, I'll assemble the hood at least, and then I'll probably be able to do some of the rest of the putting togethers. I'll be able to put this together, certainly, but I feel bad because normally if I was going to go over, I would ask permission to do so, but there is another thing happening in this room at 2 o'clock, and I can't be a jerk about it. I gotta give up the room at 2. Good golly. This is where it would have been very helpful to have preset the sleeves, let me tell you. But once we do this, then everything will be hopefully easy street. Now I sweat. So sweaty right now. Good golly, I really hope that I'm able to finish this to some degree. Here's a question, do you believe in me? Because I might not. Right now I don't believe in me.
I believe in you.
Well, that's one of us. There we go. Just needs to be good enough. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, let's assemble the actual hood now. We're gonna have to do this really fast. Woo! So for the body of the hood, I'm gonna make the nice sides face one another. And right now I'm sewing the shoulder seams. I find it easiest to start by sewing the shoulder seams. So I'm gonna try to do this as quick as humanly possible. I think I can do it. I don't know, maybe I can. We'll do our best. Shoulder seamed. That's one. We'll do the other. I usually go from the outside to the inside. That's just my own personal preference for sewing shoulder seams. Sew shoulder seams however you like. Again, this is just, ooh, sorry, move the camera a little bit. Again, this is just a straight stitch.
Everyone believes in you, Mink, in the chat.
What's that?
Everyone believes in you.
Oh, thanks, guys. I wish I could read the chat afterwards, but I don't think I will have access to it once I sign out of Zoom. So I appreciate your words of wisdoms and well wishes. I appreciate our moderator for reading them to me. Okay, so now what's going to happen is when I open up the shirt, like here's the shirt, I'm going to open up that armhole and I'm going to lay, where I move this so you can hopefully see it, and my crotch apparently. I'm going to lay the sleeve, that top sleeve, I'm going to lay it so that it's going to go a straight seam from end to end. It's going to make it way easy to put in a sleeve because you don't have to sew up the body cavity and the sleeve and then sew those together if you don't want to. That is the way to properly assemble clothing, but for the purposes of like t-shirts and hoodie making, this is the faster and easier way. And remember, I told you in the 11th hour, I'm going to show you fast and easy ways of doing things. I'm going to show you how to cut as many corners as is humanly possible while still looking good doing it. Oh my gosh, fighting the table. And hopefully making sure you can still see. That is top priority here. All right, and for the purposes of making this have any form of continuity, I'm going to sew the body of the hoodie and the sleeve at the same time. So I'm going to start at the edge of the sleeve. And what I will be able to do, so I am quite literally going to be able to sew down the sleeve and then down the body to sew it up. So yes, I will be making like a 90-degree turn. And then I'll just do that a second time. Again, for the purposes of just like having this mostly finished, because my goal is, again, my goal was to have this finished at 2. Again, I'm looking at the time, I'm like, oh geez, we'll see if I get it finished at 2, but what I am gonna do is I am gonna try to jump cut to different phases of this. Ooh, I realize I actually don't want to sew up the body because I forgot I have a kangaroo pocket. And I want to deal with my kangaroo pocket. So I'm actually just going to stop at my armpit for a second because I never put down the kangaroo pocket. That was my fault. I still have this kangaroo pocket. I do want to sew down some things. I feel so stupid that I didn't put down the kangaroo pocket. I'm just going to turn this edge over so I can stitch it down. Normally I would change out my colored thread, but ain't nobody got time for that. So I'm just sewing down the edge just so it looks nice. This is really the only prep that I have to do for the kangaroo pocket that needs to be done before I sew the sleeve closed, the sleeve and the body closed. Now I don't care if the table is moving. Now I'm like, nope, ain't got time to care. It's gonna be Earthquake City in here. God, I'm so sweaty. Got stuff to do. Turn this over just so that I can lay down where this is gonna go. This is gonna go right here. And I want my pins. Where did I put my pins? Oh, my pins got yeeted. Again, all right, I'm gonna have to do without pins. Basically what I'm doing. So I'm going to hold it together, I guess. I'm gonna sew this edge down with my kangaroo pocket sandwiched in there. God, this is so messy. This is gonna be so sloppy, but it's gonna get done, darn it. It's gonna get done. Gotta give the people what they want, and they want a hood. They want a hood, darn it. Yes, I know I haven't sewn the top of the kangaroo pouch down. I'm gonna top stitch that. Come on, I gotta give myself more of a seam allowance. There we go. Boy, this is very sloppy, but I think I can get, I'm starting to wonder if I can get most of this done. I know I won't be able to get all of it done because I won't be able to put I don't think I'll have enough time to put the bottom edge on camera, but you've pretty much seen how that works with the sleeve. So it's the same process, but you don't have to make it tense. You can just make it the same length. All right, now I have to put in the other sleeve. So exhausted. This is a flipping marathon. I took too long telling you about stuff. Sorry, camera.
Oh, Mink, we have a comment that you should do more panels like this.
More desperation panels? I'd be happy to. Quick, put like a BP monitor on me. I want to see what my heart rate is. I bet it's fast. Yeah, I'd be happy to do like, not even Iron Chef, it'd be like Chopped. I would be absolutely delighted to do Mink craft something in aggressively worse time limits. If you have any suggestions for things you would like to see me make in aggressively worse time limits, please.
There was a request to do a Doctor Who hoodie, maybe like an 11th Doctor or a Dalek.
Yeah, I was thinking like a Dalek or a TARDIS. I would need more than the 2 hours if you were watching me from first cut to final stitch, but I'd be happy to make something like that happen.
Oh, and we also have a request for a simple dress.
Oh, simple dress. That noise is easy.
Maybe like a nerd themed dress.
Like a what dress?
Like a nerd themed dress, like from some fandom
Oh yeah,
or
it would
pop
have
culture.
to be nerd themed. It would have to be nerd themed. Oh my good God. I'm like, what can I do in 10 minutes? I think I can do some stuff in 10 minutes. And I gotta sew up the sleeve. And I'm actually gonna start from the opposite end because I wanna make sure that I get the kangaroo pouch all situated. It's me just sitting here lining up unruly fabric. Hopefully I'll be able to get the hood down. If I can get the hood and the leaves down, I'll feel good because like I said, then the only thing I'll need to do is just top stitch the top of the kangaroo pouch to the body of the hoodie, which you guys already have seen how that works and like what that looks like. Fixing camera angles so that you guys can see where the magic is happening. Here we go. And then putting in the bottom edge, which you've already seen what that looks like. So if I don't show that, I won't be so like heartbroken about it. Let me tell you, I am glad that we didn't sew the extra 2 leaves because that would have taken away from our time. So it was fortunate that I lost one of our leaves. It was very fortunate because it made us pare down so that we would have more time. Sewing a sleeve, sewing a sleeve. Is it perfect? No. Does it have to be? Also no. That's the best part. It don't gotta be perfect, it just gotta be good. And if you want to cheat and make it look perfect, like I said, if you wanna go back in and trim the edges of your seam so they look more consistent, then everyone will think you were perfect from the get-go and none will be the wiser. I'll never tell. You don't tell on me, I won't tell on you.
So we have a comment from Stitchery Geekery. I'm planning a Dragonair scarf in the fall. I may have to ask for some ideas later.
Oh yeah, by all means message me if you've got cool ideas or you want to just like chat an idea up because I'm absolutely here for that. I love chatting out ideas. All right, I'm going to show you what this looks like. Imagine that the mouth is actually pinned to it. We're going to put the hood on, which means I have to put the leaves on at the same time I'm putting the hood on. Good golly. Hopefully our 2 o'clock person will be okay with me just taking the time to put the leaves on this and sew the hood down. All right. So the hood is going to sew all the way around. I did put in this. Here's our hood. This seam tells you where the back is. I'm just trying to center it. This seam tells you where the back is. This seam tells you where the shoulder is, and this is just extra. So when I go to line this up, this is going to go in the middle, and this has to go line up with my shoulder seam. That is how I'm going to do this as I try to do this. I'm going to really give myself some space here, some space to work. Because again, I'm doing this without pins, which is inadvisable. Definitely inadvisable. This is, as I've said before, a do as I say, not as I do moment. It also means that because I'm doing it in this messy, sloppy, like I'm not using pins model, That means I'm going to just sew to each shoulder. So I'm not going to do this as one continuous stitch, and you know, it's fine. No one will notice or care. But it just means I have to go back and forth. I will not move the camera this next time because you've already seen me position stuff, so you don't need to see it again. I can do it, I can do it. I'm gonna do it for you guys. I'm gonna make you love me. I mean, never mind that last part. That's where things get super chaotic. This is when I try to put bulky fabric in the sewing machine. I did not grab everything I needed to grab for that. Come on, sewing machine. I'm fighting. I'm fighting. I'm sorry I don't have a better perspective for you. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to just try again from another angle. I'm fighting to do this in a timely manner. I want to at least get the hood in, man. I'm sorry, 2 o'clock person. The 2 o'clock person's going to be like, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time. I have one goal, and that's to get most of this done. Notice how I've had to modify from, I'm going to get this all done in 2 hours, to like, I'm going to get most of this done. If I had 2 hours, 15 minutes, no problem. That was my fault for being too chatty about things that were not fun. I promised I wasn't going to move the camera, and then I was like, wait, you can't see anything. I'm sorry, you can't see anything. It's just me trying to put a bunch of bulky fabric together. We got this, kids. We're gonna do it. It's just a lot of fabric all crowded up and then amidst wires and a lot of sweat. So much sweat. All right, I just need to do the back of the hood. Needs to be sewn down, and then the hood will be on. I'm excited to show you at least what that will kind of look like. And then off camera, I will just finish this puppy up, and I will post a picture of the finished product on the Discord chat. So you'll get to see what the full friend looks like. Good Lord, I'm exhausted. I will also be cleaning up all of the edges and seams so that they look nice, because I acknowledge that they do not presently look nice. Come on, come on, come on. All right. Holy moly, free holy. The hood's on, it's not even 2 o'clock. It's very close to 2 o'clock. All right. All right. God, what's the best way to do this? I think the best way to do this is I'm gonna raise my camera. Hi guys. I'm gonna show you, as I show you my chin, I'm gonna show you what this front looks like. I do need to quickly pin something, and I don't know where. Oh, I yeeted my pins onto the ground, so I went to go get them. So I'm gonna quickly pin the mouth down because, like I said, I need to top stitch that, so I will. So that'll be future Mink's problem.
I can't believe you made that like almost entirely in 2 hours. That's crazy.
Hang on, I obviously have to put it on. Sorry, 2 o'clock person.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. We can go over because the following panel canceled.
You need to know what this looks like.
Oh, it's so cute.
A human.
It's okay. People can see this because you know what? For everyone joining, by attending a session, your name gets put into a raffle, and this is what you will potentially be winning if you are selected from a raffle. It is an oddish.
And
from
the back
Pokemon.
has got a leaf on it too.
That is
Oh my god, I should
so
just stand up like that. Just
Yes. So everyone joining, I am putting your Zoom name into an Excel sheet, and a name will be selected randomly from the end of our panels this weekend, which is 2 a.m.
come on.
And you can win this awesome hoodie.
I will finish up the bottom because it's like I said, I just need to put this bottom edge on and secure the kangaroo pocket. Ooh, this is a very comfortable location for the kangaroo pocket too. But I'm gonna take camera down so I can just talk to this camera here. Oh man, guys, this was an adventure. I'm just gonna finish this up real quick, like I said, and then post a picture as soon as I'm done. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Thanks for asking great questions. Thanks everyone for cheering me on. I'm totally gonna have to write that I lost the challenge. I will time myself as soon as I get off the chat. I'll time myself and let you know how many minutes over I was, just so you can see how much I lost by.
Oh, but you literally
Thanks so
designed and cut out everything, so that's like a lot in 2
The
hours.
cutting out, that's a part that I normally cut out, of my presentations. But again, I thought it was helpful for you to see just how like ragtag the cutting process can be. It's not, I mean, hopefully what you've taken away from this is that you can be as chaotic evil about the process as you want, and it works fabulously. All right, that's my time. The 2 o'clock person, I am so sorry I went 2 minutes over. The floor, she is yours. Peace, everybody.
Thank you, Mink. So for everyone who is staying on the Zoom call, we're going to have a Doctor Who panel that will start in probably a couple minutes as the panelists get ready. So be sure to stay here for that. And like that was mentioned, we are raffling off that Oddish hoodie. And the winner will be selected 1:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So by attending these panels, you will automatically be entered. Okay, so for the panel,
What was the thingy? What was it supposed to be like? After the Doctor Who one, which isn't anymore.
Sorry?
What was what panel was supposed to be after the Doctor Who one?
Oh, it was an Animal Crossing one, but the panelist is sick, unfortunately. Yes. So if the panelists need to go a little bit over, that is okay, because we don't have a panel after that. We have one at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is a game night on Zoom.
Well, the 11 thingy one. It will be 4 a.m. for me, so I wouldn't be at that one.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so let me get the panelists. So make co-host. So Justin, I made you co-host. Who else needs to be co-host as well? I think you can also make them.
Yeah, I'll just write all their names in the chat if that works.
Yes.
All right.
Nathaniel needs to be a co-host.
Hello, everyone. So I have William, I made co-host, Jay, Nathaniel, Justin. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, those 5 people I just messaged you. That's it.
Oh, okay. I see them now.
Yeah.
Do you know before it starts? Can I put my mask on and go on my video, or is that not allowed?
I would say no, because we want to start this soon. And we also ask that people do not speak or turn on their video during the presentation unless directed by the panelists. see. Okay, so I have everyone all set up.